Hey everyone, thanks for having me today. As Nikki said, I'm Pierre. I work for Veeam, where I lead our competitive intelligence team. So our role is to help our partners, our customers, our Veeam sales reps understand how Veeam and partners compares to the competition. And today with Virtual DCS, we wanted to give you a tour about the Virtual DCS platform and more specifically for how it compares to BaaS competitors like the AvePoint, the Druva, the Metallic, the Skykick, the Spanning, when it comes to protecting Microsoft 365 environments. I'm going to go through just a couple of slides. If you have any questions or comments from your own experience, please feel free to just jump in or let Nikki know, and we can address it as it goes or at the end of the presentation. And so if I start, the first thing that strikes me when I look at virtual DCS and I compare them to our top competitors for 365 backup is the fact that the first advantage that virtual DCS has over these vendors is the fact that virtual DCS can help you and your customer protect a way broader set of workloads than these smaller competitors. Because not only does virtual DCS protect 365, but using the Veeam platform, they can really protect a broad set of virtual workloads on premises, physical workloads, applications, cloud workloads, Kubernetes, etc. When you look at our top competitors for Microsoft 365 environments, as I said, the likes of AvePoint, the like of Spanning, Barracuda, Backupify, etc., where these vendors were really designed to protect SaaS. So they rarely go beyond protecting Microsoft 365, Salesforce, and maybe Google Workspace. Meaning that with virtual, that DCS, you get like one platform for all your needs, whereas with them, you're going to have silos of separate solutions, separate vendors. The only exceptions I would emphasize for that might be Druva and Metallic, because these two vendors have a quite broad support for workloads, but that's pretty much the only two that can stand a chance out of the top 25 BaaS vendors that we compare with. The second thing that is interesting, if you don't dive just in Microsoft 5, but take a bigger look or higher look at the general platform, is the fact that by going beyond Microsoft 365, Virtual DCS not only covers more workloads, but they also offer more data protection services. Because when you look at the portfolio of Virtual DCS, you can use them to do backup to the cloud. You can do backup copy, backup archive. The point is that they give you different ways or different ways to implement your data protection strategy. It's not just direct backup only or backup copy only, etc. Give you a flexibility in how you protect the different workloads with virtual DCS. And again, if we come back to our top BaaS competitors, they're really designed to do just a backup direct to the vendor cloud. That's it. They don't let you do specific backup copies, from your on-premises stuff to their cloud to have a secondary isolated copy, or they don't let you do backup archiving to their cloud. So they're really designed for a one trick or one way of protecting your data only. So that's another problem that we've seen with them. Another thing that I can bring up, but again, that's not applicable to 365, but that's a way to just go beyond the M365 conversation with virtual DCS, is the fact that virtual DCS, has implemented Veeam in a way where they can really offer a broad scope of RPO, RTO for the customers. And by that, I mean that because, they don't just do backup like what 95% of our BaaS option does, but they offer you, backup, they offer you replication, standard replication, they offer you CDP-based replication. They offer you different ways of protecting the data that will deliver, the different, with CDP, the lowest RPO in the industries for your critical data. And then they give you normal replication for your important data or just backup for all the rest of your data. So they can really adapt the level of RPO, RTO to the criticality of your data. When we look at our competition that does BaaS or DRaaS, they typically focus on one way of protecting data. It might just be backup and backup copy. It might just be CDP if you think about Zerto, or it might just be replication, standard replication, but they typically don't have that breadth of means of protection, and they cannot offer that breadth of RPO, RTO. So these two, the breadth of workload support and the breadth of backup, or I shouldn't say backup, but level of protection that virtual DCS can offer with you to customers is pretty unique. Now, if we were to dive specifically to Microsoft 365, when I look at virtual DCS and I compare them to our top BaaS competitors, the first thing that strikes me was around the pricing licensing model. Number one, it's interesting because it's pretty flexible in the sense that they let you, choose like a per user model or a more like a capacity-based model. So they give you the flexibility based on what your needs are, your environment is like, to choose one of the two options to find the one that is most appealing to you. When you look at our competition again for Microsoft 365 backup as a service, the only one that comes to my mind that can do something similar is just AvePoint. All the rest, they just license you by user. So they don't offer that flexibility that virtual DCS offers that give you that kind of competitive, that price that can be way more competitive than the competition. The second thing is if you just look at list price, so a virtual DCS starts at £30 per user per year. And actually that's lower than our competitors. So if I were to just give you the big picture of our top competitors, the Druva, the Metallic, the AvePoint, the Barracuda, Backupify, Spanning, etc. They are on their list price ranges from 35 to 39 pounds per user per year, starting point list, I emphasize. So already, we have a more affordable list starting price point than the competition. But the interesting aspect of that too is that when I look at what is included in the virtual DCS licensing for the £30 a user a year, not only is it lower than the competition, but it also delivers more capabilities. It offers more benefits because this license of virtual DCS includes far more capabilities actually than our competitors. If I were to cite a couple examples, is the fact that virtual DCS offers, the unlimited storage. When you look at our competitors are moving away from unlimited storage. Examples being lately Metallic, which removed their unlimited storage and capped it to 50 gigabytes for the highest license and 5 gigabytes for the lowest license. Druva has a similar approach. Rubrik BaaS has a similar approach, etc. So that's one interesting example for customers that we're going to charge you less but deliver more to you. Same thing, another capability that virtual DCS offer that very rare competitors offer is the fact that virtual DCS lets you customize your RPOs for Microsoft 365 data, and I will cover that in a minute. Whereas competitors is just like everything is hard-coded by them. The backup jobs, the backup frequencies are hard-coded by them. You don't control anything, and if it does not fit your business needs, it's too bad for you. Or virtual DCS also offers very sophisticated, I should say, search capabilities for Microsoft 365 data. And our competitors are very basic search, and some of them even charge an extra add-on license to get some decent search capabilities, which are still not as good as what is included in virtual DCS core licensing. So I think that's an interesting one to open the conversations, with customers, I guess. And as I mentioned, not only is it lower price than the competition, but it offers more capabilities. One of them being the ability to control your backup and your RPOs. That's a differentiator I see that may resonate pretty well with your larger customers or your more sophisticated customers. And the point here is like we want to get the customers to tell us what critical data they have in Microsoft 365. Have them point to you which users are really critical users, which sites are critical, which OneDrives are critical, etc. And then ask them how much data they can afford to lose for these users, OneDrive, Teams, whatsoever. Because the point is that if they can get you to say, if they can get to understand that, they have critical data and it needs RPO below, 6 hours, 5-6 hours, then basically 90% of the other BaaS solution in the market today will not fit their needs anymore. And the reason is that when you look at, our top 25 competitors for Microsoft 365 backup as a service, they are basically, almost all of them are basically designed to do one backup a day. There are a couple exceptions. If you think about Metallic, it's designed to run backup every 8 hours. AvePoint is from 1 to 4 times a day. So it can be as low as 6 hours if my math is correct. But the point is that the moment you get them to realize they have data that needs RPO below these 6 hours, you basically become the sole solution that could fit them. And that's one thing that is nice with virtual DCS is that customers can customize the backup schedule themselves, and they can get RPO as low as 2 hours. So really better fit for your critical data, like your, if you think about your C-level mailboxes, these kind of things. Another thing that is interesting with virtual DCS when you look at Microsoft 365 backup specifically is the fact that they enable customers to create different backup policies with different RPOs for the same organization. So you think about, like, they could say, we want a gold policy for our C levels with a 2 hours RPO. We want silver for managers with RPO a bit higher. And we want a bronze for all the rest of our users with a 24-hour RPO or something like that. And then you can basically allocate the right protection level to your different users based on their value to your business. So you can have that more tiered strategy of how to protect your users and how to prioritize the important users in the gold versus the less important ones in the bronze. So that's a differentiator for like sophisticated or large environments. And it's a differentiator because when you look at our BaaS competition, again, out of the 25, there are like three vendors that can do that. The other 22, basically, they have a single backup schedule to protect all your emails, another backup schedule to protect all your OneDrive, etc. So your C-level, mailboxes are getting backed up with your intern mailboxes, and you have no control into which one is prioritizing down the list. So that's where I see that virtual DCS really does a way better job in helping customers get the right level of protection, the right backup strategy compared to other vendors. There's a third argument we can bring up, but that one does not resonate as often, I would say. It's about unlimited retention. I don't think it's as a differentiator as the others, because I will tell you that we still have over half the competition that offers unlimited retention, as long as you keep renewing your subscription, of course. But it's still something to keep in mind when you have conversation with your customers, because when they consider you and virtual DCS versus something else, I will ask them to double check what's the retention period that the other solution is offering them, and if they can customize it. Because what we see is that other vendors are lowering the amount of storage per user, but they're also lowering the retention period to preserve margins. So we'll always double check with the customer to make sure that they know what retention period they will get with the other solution, and that they also verify that they can customize the retention to the period that they need. Because some vendors do not let you customize the retention period, and it's unlimited by default, and that's it. So if they cannot say, by legal reasons, I just need 3 years, make sure that they tested that with the other solution, because some of them are not customizable on the retention. So, okay, we've backed up the data. Now it's time, we're starting to get our first request for restore because some users have lost data or such. And that's where I think, I see that virtual DCS has another differentiator because it offers a more powerful search capability than the competition. And what that means for your customers is the fact that because we have a more advanced search, we can really minimize the workload when it comes to recovery for the administrators, because we can make it very quick and effortless for them to find the needle in the haystack. I'm going to give you 2 illustrations of why I see the virtual DCS search being better than the competition. The number one is that when you have an end user that comes to you and say, well, the CEO was working on the PPT XYZ, we can't find it anymore, but we don't know who created it and in which OneDrive it was, but we know the name of it was this. Well, with the competition, pretty much basically what happens is that they do search at the user level. So if the administrator does not know exactly the location of the file, they're going to have to go through, OneDrive number 1, do the search for that PTT. It's not there. I get out. I do a new search, OneDrive number 2, and you go down OneDrive per OneDrive until you find the OneDrive where the PPT was, and you found it there. Whereas with Veeam and virtual DCS, there is a central search across the OneDrive. So just put the name of the file, and it will tell you, well, we found a file meeting your search criteria in all these OneDrives at once. So for the administrator, it's really less manual work. It's going to save time, minimize kind of the downtime period for the end users waiting on that file. So that central source is a big deal for lab environments. The other thing that is a big differentiator is the breadth of search filters that virtual DCS has made available to the administrators of the tenants, of the end users. Because when you look at the competition, basically, I'm going to take the example of mailboxes. when you look at, I don't know, like a AvePoint, a Barracuda, a backup, if you're spanning, and you want to do a search for an email, they'll give you filters like the recipient email address, of course, the sender email address, the subject of the email, and they give you the date, or they ask you for a range of date, but that's about it. If you go with virtual DCS, and you look at the search engine that we have for just these the mailboxes, well, I forgot the exact number, but we have tens. So I think it's over 30 different fields we can search on. And to me, the value here is that if someone comes to you and don't really necessarily recall the sender or the subject, but they recall another piece of information about the email, with virtual DCS, you can still just search based on that. Whereas with the other vendors, like, yeah, if you don't give me the subject or the sender, I can't look for it for you. And the administrator is stuck manually browsing through folders of emails. So I think, yeah, the search capabilities really help with virtual DCS, really help your tenant administrators simplify recovery and reduce the recovery time when they need to find a specific item for the end users. The other thing that could be interesting for you when you talk to large customers, that have thousands or even just hundreds, but hundreds of thousands of end users using Microsoft 365, is that with virtual DCS, you can go talk to the customer and talk to the administrator and tell them that we can make their life a bit easier by, again, reducing their workload when it comes to recovery by having the administrator delegate the restores to the end user themselves. And that is just due to the way virtual DCS has built this end user self-service portal for Microsoft 365 backup as a service. And I see a couple of differentiators between virtual DCS self-service portal and the rest of the Microsoft 365 backup service solutions. And I'm going to make it very simple. When you look at the industry today, again, we have identified 25 other serious Microsoft 365 BaaS backup service vendors. When you look at these 25 competitors of ours, half of them don't even offer a self-service portal or anything like that. So already, just by offering a self-service portal, we have a differentiator over half the competition. And now if you look at the half of the competition that offers a self-service portal, I see a couple of things that make virtual DCS stands out. The number one is that virtual DCS offers self-service portal for Exchange, OneDrive, and SharePoint. And when you look at the competition, there's only a handful of the other solution in the market that can offer that breadth of support for Microsoft 365 services. If you think about it, typically, a good chunk of this remaining half of the competition, they offer self-service only for Exchange or only for OneDrive, or for Exchange and OneDrive only, that's it. So we have a slight advantage over them by having that, for more services than they do. The second thing that I feel is also a nice differentiator for virtual DCS over most of the competition is the fact that it's pretty simple to set up, and just the way it is integrated with Microsoft 365 and Azure Entra ID, it makes it pretty effortless for the administrators to make it available to the end users. And again, when you look at half the competition that offers the self-service portal, but out of that half of the competition, half of it does not make it as easy to set it up, and typically requires the tenant administrator to manually create user groups, manually grant authorizations to these user groups. So I think, yeah, for me, like showing, the virtual DCS self-service portal to your customers, administrators during demo is a good way to differentiate yourself from the rest of the market, showing them how you can, again, relieve the workloads or lower the workloads for them. Another one that is interesting too is, today it's all about security, ransomware, cyber threat, etc. And the interesting thing is that when you look at the data protection market as a whole, we have quite a lot of advanced technologies and advanced processes to protect backups from ransomware and stuff, like for virtual environment on premises, for physical servers on premises, for cloud. But when you look at Microsoft 365 data protection, actually it's not the ransomware protection capabilities are really in their early stage. So you'll hear a lot of BaaS vendors talk about how the backup are immutable, or how secure their cloud is, or how they can detect whatever. But it's still mostly marketing when you try the solutions, actually. So that's where we, with the way where how virtual DCS is developing their Microsoft 365 BaaS, that's where I see that it's, soon enough it will have a nice differentiator in terms of how it can make your Microsoft 365 backup more resilient than the competition. And I'm going to start by talking about backup immutability. So you're going to hear a lot of vendors talk about, oh, we have backup immutability for Microsoft 365. When it is like that, when the customers, comes to you and say, hey, what do you do for immutability? Because the other solution is going to make it immutable. I will really challenge that, because when we look at, again, our top 25 competitors and their statement that they were like doing backup immutability, we only found 5 that offered true backup immutability, meaning that they used object lock to lock the file so that no one could delete it. The rest were claiming backup immutability, sorry, because they would say it's in a separate cloud from the customer cloud, it's using different credentials, and we have good role-based access and MFA. So they were claiming immutability because they were doing quite a good job at access security only. But my point with that is that the moment someone breaches their access security, the backups could be deleted. A good example would be AvePoint, where they'll tell you it's very secure stuff. But if you get access to the console, you can manually delete any data you have from the backup yourself as an administrator. So we have to make sure the customers don't buy into the fact that, oh, it's immutable because the access is secured. And that's where I see that virtual DCS has started to develop some interesting capabilities. And the first one that they brought up was the fact that they have some way to lock your backup file. By default, it's locked for 14 days so that you cannot delete them. So even if someone, attack the infrastructure or get access to your data, you have a customer administrator that get pissed and wants to try to delete stuff, or like something happens at the human level, they have a technology in the back end that will protect your backup so that no matter what happens, you still have be deleted by anyone. So that is what we can talk about and name backup immutability. Another thing, and that one I'm going to be very careful because Virtual DCS brought that up to me. It's not available yet, but it's a work in progress. But I think that will be, once it's there, it's going to be a very interesting conversation it's going to be a very interesting differentiator that will bring valuable conversation with your customers. Is the fact that Virtual DCS is looking at, offering backup copy, as I understood. And I think that's going to open up a whole new conversation with the customers that other vendors cannot have. Because when you think about data security and data resiliency, it's about access security, which virtual DCS does as well, as if not better than the other vendors with good role-based access, MFA, etc. But it's also about following the 3-2-1 rule, having like 3 copies of your data on two different types of storage, and one is remote. Well, if you look at the BaaS, the Microsoft 365 BaaS competition nowadays, AvePoint, Spanning, Skykick, whatsoever, they don't do backup copy. They just do direct backup to their cloud, and they don't copy the backup anytime afterwards. Their approach is that they leverage the cloud storage resiliency of Azure or AWS, and they will tell you that's what they have. So technically, you have 3 copies of your data in Azure or AWS. And that's what every vendor does in this industry. That's a good foundation to protect you from hardware failure, but it does not protect you from accidental deletion or cyber threat, because if something happens to your backup and like it gets modified in a way, that modification gets replicated by AWS or Azure to the other copies. So it's really not making you resilient against anything beyond hardware failure. So that's where I think, having the ability to do backup copies to a separate location or a separate storage region or storage type, it's going to give us a more interesting conversation and a more advanced way of making you resilient. That way, if something was to attack the backup, you'll get the isolated backup copy that will be so separate that it will be safe from that attack. And as I said, the other vendors, no, they don't do backup copy. It's not in their business model. It's not in their technology. So I think that's another conversation to keep in mind as we get more and more questions about security, ransomware, etc. And I think Richard, Nikki, that's pretty much the top differentiators I wanted to highlight today. I talked a lot. I'm going to pause there. Any comment or question on your side of the world?